What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And again, today we are doing the cr-e-s-tcrt track in HackTheBox. Today's machine will be remote, and remote is actually easy machine, but at the same time there are multiple ways to achieve root. We're going to practically demonstrate one of them, and theoretically go over the other ways to achieve root. So going ahead, spawning the machine, we are given the IP address, and we start off with the nmap scan. So the nmap scan, we notice that we have a couple open ports. Among them we have port 80. Also we have port 20 or 2049, which is for NFS file share. It means there are file shares or NFS file shares. We also have SMB 445, 135, 139. So there are many ways to conduct enumeration on this machine. We can start with the web server. We can enumerate the SMB and also NFS. So basically, as I told you guys, there are multiple ways to achieve root on this machine. But when it comes to enumeration, we're going to start off with the methods that actually worked when I first started doing the challenge. So let's now check the main page on the server. As you can see, we have posts, and if we scroll down here, we can see this about section maybe, or this is the blog section, an excerpt from the blog. So what we want to do here, we want to find out what is this website based on. Is it a CMS? Is it something else? We want to find the technology. Before implementing the tools needed to do that, if we take a closer look at the post here, as you can see, we have metadata about every post. Let's click on this one. Alright, so this is the date, and this seems to be maybe username, something else, and this is another cryptic thing, Umbraco. Scrolling down, going back, another post, great Umbraco. So for every post we have this Umbraco thing. Now if you Google Umbraco, you will find that this is a content management system, open source CMS. We're not gonna now take a deep dive on how it works and why it's in there. Just it's enough to know that it is a content management system. But if you look at the documentation here, you will find that Umbraco is a directory you can use to visit the administration panel. But of course you will need username and password to log in. Okay, now that's one thing to remember. The other thing is this. Let's open a new tab and search for an exploit. These are the available exploits, right? Now, as you can see, we have these authenticated remote code execution, which means they require a pair of credentials to make the exploit work. The other exploit is this, remote command execution using Metasploit. This one will not work. I tried it. No idea why, but we need to stick to one of these. Actually, they are the same. The other exploits are non-related to our objective. One of them is directory traversal, other one is reverse scripting, and the last one is SSRF. So we need to try our luck with this one, and it's the intended path of this machine. This is the exploit that we need to use. First, let's take a grab or take a hold on the credentials first. We need username and password. That also can be used to log into the administration panel. Okay. Now remember that when we first scanned the machine, we found that at port 2049 is opened, which means there are NFS file shares in there. So to be able to find these shares, we're going to use show mount. So show mount. We have one share, site underscore backups, and as you can see, the permissions are assigned so everyone can access the share, which is another weakness, by the way. What we can do, we can exploit this fact and mount the share to the local machine using the mount command. So mount. Here what we did, we just specified the protocol using an -t, the IP address of the machine, and here the directory or the share we want to mount, and that's the destination where it will be mounted. Now going now to mount. Right, these are the files. right, that were stored or are stored under this share. Now the job here is to find out the username and password by looking around these files. That's how you'll be able to find username and password. Now you can look, of course, if you are doing the machine for the first time, try looking around these directories and these files, searching. This will enhance your problem solving skills and of course increase your patience potential. But I'm going to save you the time. I'm going to tell you that update is a directory that contains this is the file that we want. So cd ls or cd2/mnt/update. Again, we have these files and directories. This one, .sdf. Now, this file is the file that contains the things we were looking for. So basically, SDF are a standard database format. Standard database format. We're not going to spend time now parsing these files. We're going to use strings to maybe, if we get lucky, we can uncover some hidden strings or hidden information, sensitive information inside this file using strings. So strings. I'm going to pipe this to less. Right off the bat, we can see these lines, and they are suspicious lines. Look at this: administrator, admin, and we can see this string appears to be a hash, and this is a hashing algorithm. Another one: admin at http.local, and the same hash. Another line. It looks like these were some sort of login logs for the username admin, and this is the hash. If you look at the last line, we have Smith. It's another user on the box, and the hash starts from here, but it used different algorithm, HMAC SH256. So I know, guys, you're not going to waste your time using cracking the hash of this user. Let's waste our time cracking the hash of that user, admin at http.local. If we are successful doing that, we'll be able to use the exploit successfully in the next step. So you can copy the hash, store it in a file, and jump to hashcat. Okay, that's the command. Now hashcat, let me remove this one. -m100, defining the mode for SHA1, it's 100, and that's the file containing the hash we saw earlier from the strings command output. And that's the path to the word list that we're going to use to crack the hash, /force. Now this is going to take some time, at least in my case it took some time. I'm not going to run this again, guys, but that's the command you need to use to find the password of the admin user. Finding the password admin user will make you able, or will enable you, to log into the administration panel using admin at http.local and the password here. But given that we knew what we need to do regarding the exploit, we're going to now jump to the exploit in GitHub and see what are the parameters needed to run the exploit, so that we set the first foothold or the first shell on the machine. Alright, let's go over the exploit. As you can see, we have an example on how to run the exploit. First, we have to provide the username, which happens the username, the admin username on the website, the password that we actually cracked using hashcat, and here also we need to provide the IP address or the path or the URL to the web server or the main page, and here's the command we need to execute. If you look closely at the exploit, as you can see here, the -c argument provides a method or a way to execute commands using the PowerShell. So take a look at, let's scroll down to the exact line that is responsible for this. So this is the login username, the password, the host. So here it is. So here, as you can see, the command is empty string. Instead of the empty string, we provide, in the example here, they provide ipconfig as an example, but when we run the exploit, we will need to provide a command. So what we need to do here, let's go back and spawn the command here. So So what I did here, as you can see, this is the username, admin at http.local. This is the username we use to log into the admin portal. And this is the password that we cracked using hashcat. And this is the path or the URL to the web server, -c, and then the command that we will need to execute. We will use shell.ps1. Shell.ps1 is an Nishang PowerShell or a Nishang reverse shell that will return a connection back to my machine from the victim machine. So we'll use that as well. It will be downloaded from my machine when I host a Python web server. As you can see here, I can host a Python web server here. Not exactly here. Okay, and now shell.ps1 will be served from my machine, and I will be able to download the Nishang reverse shell using this command. It will be downloaded and executed on the victim machine. But don't forget that when it is run, it will actually connect to my machine on port 4545. So this is the port 4545 listening here. I'm gonna run this. Now you might be asking me how to know how do you know it is port 4545? I had to set this up. So I'm going to show you guys the contents of this reverse shell. It is Nishang PowerShell. So basically here, I just copied the shell to my desktop, shell.ps1, and what I added here to the end of the file, I have added this line. So when the script is executed on the victim end, or on the whatever the machine want to call it, on that end, it's going to execute this command, which will connect on to my IP address to my machine on port 4545. That's how I know it's port 545. That's how I know it is the port 5. That's the port 4545 I have to listen on. So back to the command, and if I execute this now, as I told you guys, it's going to use the username and password that we have uncovered earlier and exploit the weakness on the Umbraco CMS. That exploit will enable me to execute the command and download the Nishang reverse shell on the victim machine, which will enable us to connect back using the listener here. So let's execute that. As you can see, it is retrieved from my machine, the PowerShell script, and now I got the session running here. As you can see, this is the default directory I landed on when the connection first came, which means this is the default directory of the web servers. Now, it's always recommended when you first get a shell on a system to run the system info to get information about the system. So basically, if you scroll up, as you can see, it is Windows Server 2019 standard, multiprocessor. If you scroll down, we get information about the manufacturer. It's running on VMware, and as you can see, it's x64. So if we are going to create some sort of payloads using interpreter, we have to take this into consideration that it is x64. And other information about the Windows directory, system directory. This information may be useful. You will always find them handy when you are doing enumeration and privilege escalation after you get the first shell. So always do the system information. Another thing that's useful is running who am I, finding the user, as you can see IIS, and also you can run who am I /priv, understand the privileges that the user we are assigned to can have or can do. So basically, as you can see, these privileges are enabled. Now this is typical privilege escalation methodology. All right, so after finding out details about the operating system, now it's time to automate the work. Now, automation is good to save time, but it doesn't always give you the desired results. Now, in this case, after we import the privilege escalation script, which happens to be PowerUp, it will give us the results we want. It will result in the privilege escalation vector that we need to use to escalate to root. But in some cases, you cannot only rely on automated scripts. You have to sometimes do manual work. But first, let's save the time and import PowerUp to this machine. So I have PowerUp here in the desktop. Okay, you can find it in GitHub. Just use some Googling. And what I have to do here, I have now to download this to the machine here. Okay, so I will cd to another directory, cdc users public. All right, so as you can see, the PowerShell script is here because I did the challenge before and I haven't shut down the machine yet. So, but you can actually download the script using a PowerShell command. So basically, if you go to my notes here, so we can use one of these two commands. We can use invoke a new web request here, or we can use a download string. It's up to you. But the first one is recommended because it's going to download and execute the script here, PowerUp. So let's first edit on this one. So download string, this is my IP address, PowerUp. Okay, it's already ready. So let's take that and download again. So here PowerUp has been requested and now it is downloaded. Next thing I have to do is invoke all checks. This will invoke all the checks PowerUp has to perform enumeration and find the right privilege escalation vector. So executing invoke all checks will just do that. Okay, good. So one remarkable result is this one. As you can see, the first thing we have is it's telling us that the current user we have has C impersonal privilege, which means we can use the juicy potato exploit. That's the first method you can use, guys, to solve the machine and escalate to root. But we're not going to use this method because juicy potato is all over the place. You can find many videos, and also I have some videos on juicy potatoes. You can go back to these videos. I'm going to put them in the video description to show you guys, or you can watch them to find out how you can use juicy potato to perform privilege escalation. So this one, we're gonna skip this one for this video, but it's still a valid method if you want to take this path to exploit, or sorry, to escalate to root. The other method is this one. We have the service, USO service. That's the path to the service. And PowerUp is telling you that you can abuse the service and escalate to root. How? You can use invoke service abuse dash name. Mention the service name here. Check unattended path. Okay, so this is also a weakness in the system that we can also take advantage of. But how? So invoke service abuse. It takes one argument, the name, and it takes another argument, which is the command we want to execute. So if we can use this function here to create another session, right? This session will be created as the administrator. So we can actually use the service to connect to my machine on another port that I can listen on with netcat to receive a shell as administrator. So that's how we're going to effectively abuse this function. But if you only run this, it's going to create, PowerUp will create a username, a user and password, and add the user to the administrator group of the system. But again, you cannot make use of that. Let me show you why. If you scroll up here, I'm not going to show you guys how it ended up. So let's scroll down. Hopefully I will be able to find this somewhere. Okay, as you can see, when I executed invoke service abuse dash name, the exact same command PowerUp suggested me to run. As you can see, what happened, it created a username or a user named John with the password 123 exclamation mark and added it to the administrators group. That's great. But the thing is, you cannot log in with that user using evil winrm. So if you run here evil winrm, let's change this one, and here it should be John So ultimately, you want to use that user to log in to the machine, right? So let's put the IP address. The user John lacks authorization maybe to log in. Let's use sudo here. Okay. That's also another method to achieve root on the machine, or become an administrator. So Juicy Potato, using the default suggestion PowerUp has by adding a user called John to the administrator group, or we can take another path, which is this. If you scroll down, we can use the, what happened here? Okay, so we can use this command. Okay, let's take it. And then dash command. Okay, so what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to execute netcut. Let's see here what happened. As you can see, I couldn't log in. Error of type WinRM authorization error. So it happens that the user here, John, yeah, it's an administrator, but it doesn't have the authorization to log in using WinRM, so we cannot use it. Let's go back. Okay, in the command here, I'm going to execute netcut. So you might be asking me, how did you get netcut? Where did you get it from? So basically here again, guys, ls, I have netcut on my machine, nc.exe here. I copied this from user ls user share windows binaries. I have netcut here. I copied that from that location to desktop. And again, with the same command I used to download the Nishang reversal, I use the same command, guys, to download netcut to this directory. So now I can execute netcut. So I'm gonna open a listener here. Say, let's close this one. nclvp 4547, and I'm going to connect to the listener C. So let's copy the path. Okay, and say nc.exe. The IP address of my machine is, let's see, this is my IP address. And then the port 4547, and then the command that I'm going to execute -e-cmd.exe. Let's see here. As you can see, I received the shell. So who am I? Net authority system. So successfully we escalated the privileges to the highest privileged user on the system. Now the other method is to use Metasploit, but basically you will need Meterpreter shell to perform this. And basically I tried the Meterpreter shells here on the machine, but they didn't work. As soon as I received the shell, as you can see, it dies immediately. I tried multiple times. So I opted to use the method outlined in this video instead of just, you know, battling with Metasploit and why it's not working. So that's it, guys. I hope you liked the video, and I will see you later.